Tidal is a music streaming app that is now hit number one, seemingly out of nowhere. Now, it has been sort of a sleeper hit, and now somehow, don't know why, it's number one in the world. Actually, there's a good reason why. The last or the newest, I guess, yeah, that's the way to put it. The newest Kanye West album has been released on Tidal. It's called The Life of Pablo. Not listened to much of it. In fact, I just started listening to Kanye West literally, I mean it, literally Friday. So last time I was in the office was the last time I started listening to Kanye West. Not bad, actually. Surprisingly impressed with some of his stuff. I had heard about him, but I never actually listened to him. And now I have, and I gotta say, not terrible. But anyway, Life of Pablo has just come out on Tidal, Tidal. Again, it's an app that's actually owned by JZ, and he's apparently raking in tons and tons of money. TechCrunch is talking about it, saying after scoring exclusive streaming rights to Kanye West's new album, The Life of Pablo, Tidal has taken over the number one spot on the U.S. App Store for iTunes, or for the iPhone. So the album went live yesterday. It was supposed to be available for streaming on the Tidal platform as well as for purchase on Kanye's website, but Kanye took it down from his website. So now the only way to listen to Life of Pablo currently is through the Tidal app, which is why it hit number one suddenly. So far, the streaming site has held up to the intense onslaught of traffic from Kanye's fans. However, last week was a bit of a different story. There was a bandwidth problem, and Tidal kind of went down for a little while. Ultimately, according to TechCrunch, the streaming service can continue scoring sought-after exclusives like Life of Pablo. It might just have a shot against an incumbent iTunes after all. So the Tidal app is now the number one app in the App Store. And that's surprising for an app that is as new as Tidal is. It is also on Android, by the way, so you can download it there too. But the Android app is apparently not quite as fleshed out as the iTunes or the iPhone app is. So Tidal is now the new app. Jay-Z owns it. It's apparently super cool. People tend to like it. I haven't heard anything negative about it so far. So if you want to listen to the new Kanye West album, the only way to do it is to go on Tidal. And apparently iTunes will be having it in like 7 days. So about a week from now, actually exactly a week from now, next Monday, the new Kanye West album will be on iTunes, so you can listen to it there. So Tidal is now the top app for that simple reason. So Kanye and Jay-Z working together to create the number one app in the App Store ever, which is weird to think about, that it's just suddenly out of nowhere the number one app on iTunes, and like nobody's heard of it until just now, or until just a few days ago. It's just crazy bizarre how that works out. It's kind of like how Flappy Bird just became number one out of nowhere. Everyone wanted it, and then suddenly Flappy Bird was nowhere to be found. You can't get it anymore unless you get some, side-loaded version of it. It's weird how that works out. And will Tidal be the same way? Currently, the listings are this, by the way, for the top apps. Tidal, number one. Color Switch, number two. It's a game, kind of like Simon says. Number three is Snapchat. 4 is Messenger. 5 is Facebook. And 6 is YouTube, which is funny because Google's not even making the top spot. Snapchat is number 3, ahead of Facebook and Facebook Messenger and YouTube. That's kind of crazy, but there you go. So, by the way, if you don't have Snapchat, there's a bit of explanation for Snapchat. I've been meaning to talk about Snapchat for a while now, but it does warrant some explanation as to what exactly the heck Snapchat is. So, Snapchat is a disposable messaging service. It self-destructs its messages whenever you get sent one. So, Snapchat's really popular with the kids, and not just kids, but celebrities too, who tend to be kids. But lots of people are using Snapchat, and lots of people are really into it. I'm not so much into it. Businesses are now exploiting Snapchat. Not sure how good an idea that is, if it's sustainable or not, but a lot of businesses are exploiting Snapchat too. Snapchat basically is, again, a disposable messaging service. So what happens is you send a message out over Snapchat, and you'll receive whatever in return. Someone will send you another message. But the catch is the messages all self-destruct after 10 seconds or 30 seconds, depending on how you set it. Even 5 seconds, 8 seconds. You can set a time limit on when they'll self-destruct. Usually, I say usually it's like 30 seconds, generally speaking. It's a decent app. It's not bad. It's just one of those things where I don't really get it. I get it, but I don't use it that much. It's just not that great to me. It's one of those things. I think it's more for people who are in the younger demographic. Teenagers love it. 20-somethings not so much. It's just one of those things. But if you're worried about, say, you have a kid who's on Snapchat and you're kind of worried, what is this? Well, there might be some cause for concern in the sense that there are people who do send some less than savory messages on Snapchat. That's true of any service. Kick has been getting a lot of negative press because of that too. But the general idea of Snapchat is, again, sending a self-destructive message. It's like instant messenger from the 90s, like we all did. But now it's with images instead. So you send an image, you can add text to it, you can draw on it, and it expires after a certain amount of time. There's also a Snapchat story. It's called your Snapchat story, which can be viewed an infinite amount of times. It's usually just people posting about what they've been doing every day. That's generally what a Snapchat story is. And it's, simple stuff. It's not particularly frightening, although some people are very scared of it, probably simply because it's new and scary to people who don't understand what it is. It's not any different than anything else. Now I got to close my Snapchat. Get out of there. There's audio playing, and I hate it when that happens. So it's not any scarier than any other service. It just is what it is. It's a tool like any other tool. So many people are afraid of new technology for basically no good reason. I say basically no good reason because, again, monitor your kids. I understand that part. Make sure your kids aren't doing anything bad. But when it comes right down to it, again, Snapchat is a tool like any other tool. It can be used for good or for bad. There have been a lot of warnings about Kick, by the way. K-I-K, Kick. Lots and lots of warnings. Police chiefs, sheriffs saying if you find Kick on your kid's phone, uninstall it immediately and talk to your kids about the dangers of Kick. Really, the dangers of Kick are the dangers of talking to strangers online. It's the same deal. Don't talk to strangers online. It's a bad idea. It can get you in a lot of trouble. But that doesn't mean that Kick in and of itself is bad. It just means that it's just one of those things where it's a tool. It's one of those things where it's just a tool. It doesn't mean it's good or bad. It just means it is what it is. That's just how it is. What do you know? But no, Kick is just a tool. And there's nothing wrong with monitoring what your kids do online, especially if we're talking about a minor kid, 15 years old, 10 years old, because kids these days have smartphones. I mean, that's just how it is. Chances are, if you have a young child, they have either a smartphone, they got an iPod Touch, which is basically the same thing as a smartphone. They've got a smartphone or an iPod Touch, or they got a tablet of some sort. Kids have technology. We are covered in technology from day one, especially people who are now 20-somethings. They've grown up with technology. It's just ingrained into our systems. It's part of us. We can't survive without our smartphones. And people like to make fun of us for it, especially the older generation. It's understandable. It's new. It's scary maybe to some people, but it's just how life is now. We used to complain, oh, those kids can't get away from their transistor radios. They can't stop listening to that Mick Jagger with his devil music, his gyrating hips and his devil music. It's the same thing with cell phones today. And there's going to be something else that 20-somethings, when they're talking to their kids, 10 years down the road, they'll be saying, oh, I don't get this new holographic messaging thing. It's scary and I don't like it. It's going to be that. It's just how it is, It's just how it is. That's how the world of technology works out. But currently, yeah, keep an eye on your kids. There's nothing wrong with that. But understand that Kick in and of itself is not a bad thing. Kick in and of itself is not some great evil that's going to ruin your child's life. Although you should make sure, your kid's not talking to strangers online, because that's, again, a bad thing. Snapchat, again, most kids, I guarantee you, are just going to use Snapchat to send funny pictures to each other because that's what kids like to do. If I had Snapchat when I was 12, I would be sending funny pictures to my friends because that's just what kids do. It's just what kids do. It used to be passing notes back and forth in school and getting in trouble for that. Now it's sending snaps back and forth and getting in trouble for that. So Snapchat is, again, it's a tool, just like Kick is just a tool. It is what it is. It's not something to be afraid of. It's not something to worry about all day or night. And if you trust your kids, then what do you have to worry about? Are your kids trustworthy? If yes, then hey, no worries then. Everything should be okay. So Snapchat's not something to be worried about. It's something to keep an eye on, but it's not something to be constantly concerned about. That's just how it is. Again, that's the world of technology. Speaking of parents and technology, there are, and I've been sort of called to my attention, there are a few things that I've heard about that parents are worried about that they've actually asked me to explain to them in person before. Like, say, Instagram is another one of those things where a lot of people don't really get what Instagram is. It's a lot like Snapchat, but a lot more public than Snapchat is. Think about Facebook and how you share photos on Facebook of your family, right? People do that. Okay, so think about Facebook, except it's only pictures. You're just scrolling through a timeline of different pictures. In fact, it's run by Facebook, by the way. Same set of standards Facebook has as on Instagram. So there are, for instance, rules against, there's no nudity allowed on Instagram. So you don't have to worry about, kids running into that. There's no nudity allowed on Snapchat, or sorry, on Instagram. There's, lots of different regulations. The same thing as Facebook, basically. Same regulations Facebook has against content, Instagram does too. So it's a mostly safe environment. That doesn't mean that it's entirely safe, but it's a mostly safe environment for the youngins. I wouldn't have anyone younger than a teenager on Instagram. But in terms of dangers, there's always stranger danger like anything else. But in terms of, my kid's going to see naked people or pornography on Instagram, that's unlikely. It's against the rules. So it's not something that I worry about anyway. Plus, you're only going to see content from people who you are friends with on Instagram. So when you go on Instagram, your Facebook friends list can automatically be carried over into Instagram, essentially. So now on Instagram, you're friends with everyone who you were on friends. It's confusing. Who you were friends with on Facebook. So say, your aunt's on Facebook, you're going to see your aunt's stream on Instagram. Or maybe your cousin, you're going to see your cousin's stuff on Instagram. Or your friend from school, you're going to see your friends from school stuff on Instagram. Instagram's a cool platform. A lot of businesses are using it, mostly bigger businesses. It's great for the food industry because they can take a photo of the latest special and put it up there. Great for the food industry. Radio, not so much. I don't know what you would put on Instagram for radio, just pictures of us doodling around the office and recording things. It would be the same picture over and over again, basically. Office is not particularly exciting for Instagram. But for the food industry, great. Telecommunications, great. Hospitals, wonderful stuff. I've seen a lot of police departments that have really cool Instagrams. I think actually Chattanooga PD might have one. The Chattanooga PD's Twitter account, by the way, is one to follow. Chattanooga PD puts a lot of good information out on its Twitter account. Definitely worth following. Lots of cool people on there. And actually, interestingly enough, the Chattanooga PD tends to respond to people who will send messages to it on Twitter. So that's pretty cool too. Thumbs up to whoever runs the Chattanooga PD's Twitter account. So cool stuff there. Not sure if Chattanooga PD has a Instagram account or not. I can check real quick though, because I actually have a Instagram account. You can follow me, by the way. It's Mecha Keller on Instagram. You'll never find me because my name is super weird. But if you want to find stuff about me, you can, I guess. Let's do a search for Chattanooga though. See if there is any cool stuff on Instagram. Chattanooga PD. See if the police department's on there. Nope, doesn't look like it. I type out Chattanooga Police. Chattanooga Police Department. Nope, don't see. That's a parody account. Don't see it. No, but there is a thing called Noogagram. Oh, I should talk about that. There's a thing called Noogagram on Instagram. It's Noogagram. I totally forgot about that. It's really cool. Go on Instagram, search for Noogagram, and you can see lots of really cool photos of what's going on in Chattanooga. There are lots of neat photos. Here's one from the Veterans Bridge. Sorry, that's actually from the Walnut Street Bridge, looking at Veterans Bridge while a ship is going through it. Actually almost looks like the Delta Queen. Don't think it is. There's a photo of a butterfly in view of a window looking at the Tennessee Aquarium. Good stuff on Noogagram. Definitely follow Noogagram. I'll start following them now too. You can see lots of cool photos of downtown Chattanooga and the outlying Chattanooga greater metropolitan area, I suppose is what they call it now. So good stuff on Noogagram. That's Noogagram. Speaking of, by the way, speaking of things to do in Chattanooga and your smartphone, go on the Play Store or the Android App Store or the iTunes App Store, whatever app store you happen to use on your iPhone. It should work on any of them. Go to Explore. All right, let's type this out. Explore Chattanooga. Chattanooga. And there's an app for Explore Chattanooga that's really good. I really like it a lot because it shows you a bunch of different things that are going on in Chattanooga. It shows you different events happening. It shows what's just in the local area. So you can sort it by accommodations, right? If you're just here to visit, in which case, welcome to AM radio in Chattanooga. Cool. Thanks for listening. Arts, history, and culture. So like the Bluffview Art District, you'll see stuff from there. Attractions, dining, local services, outdoors, shopping. Chattanooga is such a nice city. And there's so much going on that even if you've lived here for 50 years or longer, there's still stuff popping up that you can do. There's still exciting things to do in Chattanooga. Even if you've been here for forever, you'll find something new. And the Explore Chattanooga app is great for that. I've lived here all my life, and I'm still finding fun things to do here in Chattanooga. So it's great, great, great service for that. Explore Chattanooga in the App Store. You can look at all the different things, and you can see what you would like to do, perhaps. Like if you're a bit conflicted about where you want to go for, say, dinner, you can tap on the dining icon, and you'll be able to see all the different restaurants. It lists all the different restaurants in the area. I think it has a listing of bars too, and there are so many dang bars in Chattanooga. There's a ridiculous amount of them, which is funny for a Bible Belt city, but there's tons and tons of bars, especially like little, I don't want to say hole in the wall because that sounds slightly derogatory, but smaller establishments. I'll put it that way. There are a lot of smaller establishments in Chattanooga. And if you have an iPhone or an Android phone and you have the Google Now app installed, you can easily find out what's going on in your area. You can easily find out where something is just by, believe it or not, asking your phone. It's a bizarre concept, right? Especially for the uninitiated. But you can actually ask your phone a question and it will give you an answer. So say you're on Siri, I'm on Google Now. It'll work basically the same way. But all I have to do is ask my phone where something is, like this. Okay, Google, where are the closest restaurants?
Here are the listings for restaurants within 0.4 miles.
So now I have a list of all the different restaurants close to me from the office, which actually gives me a good idea of where I want to go for lunch, because I'm starting to get just a little bit peckish here, starting to get a little bit hungry in the office over here. And, it happens. So now I can see all the different restaurants. I don't really want to go to a chain, so maybe I'll go to some family restaurant here or there. Lots of different restaurants are in the area, and most of them are within just a few miles. In fact, sometimes less than a mile. That's another great thing about Chattanooga. There's so many restaurants all over the place. There are restaurants everywhere here. You can't turn a corner without running into a restaurant. There's like endless food options. And a lot of them are run by local people, managed by local people, owned by local people. That's, again, the great thing about Chattanooga and living here is there's so much going on that's actually local, that's actually based here and not in some corporate office in Houston or whatever. Not that there's anything wrong with corporate offices in Houston, but I want to spend my money here, and I want to know that it'll stay here and it'll support someone's college fund, or it'll support someone's buying a new car, because they're driving a bit of a clunker that they didn't cash in for clunkers. Someone's driving an older car and they need a new one, and I'd be happy to help fund that so long as I get something in return, like great food, which you'll tend to get here in Chattanooga. There's tons of it. And that's the idea of Nooganomics. That's the idea of caring for your neighbor, buying, loving your neighbor and buying local. It's the ideas that are espoused by David Tulis on the David Tulis Show. He's on from 9 to 11 a.m. every weekday here on Hot News Talk Radio. Following him is me, of course, on Binary, 11 to 12. Colin Cowherd is on from 12 to 3. He runs a sports show that I really like because I can actually understand what the heck he's talking about. I'm more of a tech guy, not really a sports guy, So Colin Cowherd runs a good show that even I can understand, and it's good for the hardcore sports fans too. 12 to 3, Colin Cowherd. 3 to 6, our buddy Sean Hannity. And 6 to 7 is Clutch with Keon Rose every weekday here on Hot News Talk Radio. Clutch with Keon Rose, 6 to 7. 7 to 9 is Mike Gallagher, American Now with Megan McCain. Ground Zero and Coast to Coast AM with George Noory. All right here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. We're always here at hotnewstalkradio.com. And get us on the TuneIn radio app for your smartphone. Check this out. Let me go to my smartphone here because I've got it always in front of me. I'm attached to it. Actually, I have an umbilical cord going from me to my smartphone. Let's go to our app stores here real quick. And I'm going to go to TuneIn, which is the best way to listen to us. TuneIn, TuneIn Radio on your smartphone. Now, you can install that. And once you do, you'll be able to listen to us streaming live anywhere in the world here on Hot News Talk Radio AM 1240. So what you do is once you've installed the TuneIn Radio app, you can do a quick search for Hot News Talk Radio, tap on that. You'll be able to listen to us on your smartphone. And if you have a newer car that has Bluetooth built in, which most of the new ones do, built from 2010 forward, there's actually federal regulation requiring car manufacturers to have Bluetooth in their radios nowadays for hands-free for cell phones. Any car built from 2010 forward has Bluetooth in it. Connect your phone up with Bluetooth to your car. You can listen to us anywhere in the world on your data plan that way. It sounds amazing. This is Hot News Talk Radio.
We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Hello, I'm Mike Little, candidate for criminal court judge with 25 years of criminal court experience, which makes me the most qualified candidate. The experience I have gained from handling over 4,000 cases in state and federal court has equipped me with the ability to be fair, impartial, and independent. As your next criminal court judge, I will focus on keeping Hamilton County safe. I view this position as a public service and will strive to improve the daily operations of court. I humbly ask for your trust and vote in the March 1st Republican primary.
Paid for by the committee to elect Mike Little, Barry Abbott, Treasurer.
You have an event coming up. Maybe it is your daughter's wedding, or maybe just a church or office party. Then you need to select Choo Choo Barbecue. That's correct. Choo Choo Barbecue. Whether you like pork, chicken, or beef. Oh, yes. Choo Choo Barbecue with their savory rub flavor. Oh, my goodness. It's making me hungry right now. You add in their delicious smoked aroma, and you have set the table for a perfect meal with Choo Choo Barbecue. That's right. Choo Choo Barbecue. Why don't you give them a call right now? 423-843-9554. That's 843-9554. Call 423-843-9554. Choo Choo Barbecue. You know where it's located, off of Hickson Pike, right there at the Valley Brook area. Don't kid yourself. Your stomach is already on the way.
In the middle of our street. Hi, I'm Sabrina with Sabrina Realty Associates. Now is a great time to sell your home. In our area, inventory is at an all-time low, which translates into higher sales prices. Call us today at 423-499-7780 to set up a free consultation and discuss our unique and aggressive marketing programs. We will provide you with a free market analysis to determine the right value of your home. Call us today at 423-499-7780 or visit our website at SabrinaRealty.com.
What are you going to get your sweetie for Valentine's Day? I'm going to Carter Shooting Supply.
Carter Shooting Supply.
That's right, Carter Shooting Supply. They're having a great sale on all of their guns right now, and it's name brands like Smith & Wesson, Ruger, Springfield, their AR-15s. They've got the hottest gun in the land right now, the Sky 9mm. Man, it comes in all the cool colors. If you're an Alabama fan, they've got crimson. If you're a big orange fan, they've got an orange one. You know, all the women are loving the pink one and Tiffany blue. Plus, it has a lifetime warranty replacement. If the gun is stolen, all you need is your police report or receipt, and they'll replace it free. It has a 60-day full money-back guarantee. That's Carter Shooting Supply. They're in Harrison right there at 6210 Highway 58.
Are they online?
Yes, they are. That's CarterShootingSupply.com, or give them a call, 423-344-1099. Now, this sale's not going to last too long, so you need to hurry up and get there. And they do have a great indoor shooting facility. You can get your Tennessee handgun carry permit also. That's Carter Shooting Supply, 423-344-1099.
On your signature, you can get $150,000. Can you believe that? $150,000 on your signature. Hi, I'm Bruce Krebs with the Entrepreneur Source. There's a program right now that you can get $150,000 on your signature with no pledge of collateral or personal guarantee. Call me at 423-875-5621 to learn more. 423-875-5621. You've been thinking about starting a business and becoming self-sufficient. Don't do it on your own. I have a proven track record for the last 13 years, a 96% success rate. I can guide you into a franchise where you will pay yourself through the startup phase with very low or little risk. Call me now. I'm Bruce Krebs at 423-875-5621. 875-5621. And make sure to listen to the Entrepreneur Hour every other Wednesday from 11 to 12 o'clock here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Call me now, 875-5621.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update.
4 Hamilton County school administrators are testifying in the Ottawa assault case this morning. The preliminary hearing went underway for basketball coach Andre Montgomery, assistant coach Carl Williams, and athletic director Jesse Nadley. They're charged with failing to report the rape to proper authorities in the Ottawa rape case. Testifying are Superintendent Rick Smith, Assistant Superintendent Dr. Lee McDade, Secondary Operations Director Steve Holmes, and Ottawa High School Principal Jim Jarvis. They are testifying on behalf of the state. Cleveland police have responded to about 40 incidents of property vandalism this weekend, starting at about 6 a.m. Saturday morning. Apparently, people are throwing rocks through car windshields and even into people's living rooms. Police are still looking for suspects. And a couple in a small fixed-wing aircraft made an emergency landing on Highway 27 just north of Dayton. They were going from Pigeon Forge to Winchester when they had an engine failure at 5,500 feet. They made a successful emergency landing, and everyone is safe. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Staying cloudy, wet, and cool out there through the afternoon with more showers pushing in from the south and west. Highs staying into the 40s tonight. Some heavy rain early, tapering off after midnight a bit. Lows upper 30s. For Tuesday, a few late day showers may move back in. Lower 50s with drier weather for the midweek. Let Dodge City Ski Shop keep you and your family toasty warm with the largest selection of cold weather clothing as well as all of the ski equipment you need for that big trip. Dodge City, East Brainerd Road, Chattanooga. And I'm Sorgene Twelve, Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
When the weather turns bad, turn to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. On the net, hotnewstalkradio.com. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. From the Hot News Talk Radio Weather Center. Chattanooga, we've got you covered. When the weather turns bad, the Tennessee Valley turns to Hot News Talk Radio.
Go, 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 go. You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Apple has just announced a pretty big recall. Some MacBook charging cables are being recalled because of a charging problem. So if you happen to have a MacBook that uses one of the newer USB-C charging cables, you might be eligible for this recall. Apparently, it's a limited number of their USB-C charge cables for the MacBook, which are included in the laptops that are shipped out from June 2015. They might fail due to a design issue, not specifying what exactly that design issue was. The new USB-C port was only on Apple MacBooks from March 2015 forward. So not without other C cords. This is stupid. Not without other USB-C cords. Why is C cord so hard to say? This is why I never got into music. So the affected cables have designed by Apple in California, assembled in China stamped on them, whereas the new ones just have a serial cable on them. Apple says that MacBook owners who provided a valid mailing address during the project registration process will get a letter telling you that something has gone horribly wrong. Apple also offers a free battery replacement program for certain iPhone 5 devices sold between September 2012 and January 2013, which are affected by a problem with the battery suddenly discharging or not holding a charge adequately. Now, this doesn't mean that every iPhone 5S or whatever is going to have a horrible problem like that, because something like this happens with any massive lineup of any product that ever gets released. There's going to be some problem. That's just how it is. It's not a big deal, but if you can get it fixed by the manufacturer like Apple is promising to, then you shouldn't have many problems in the future. It's just one of those things. It's unlikely that you'll be affected by a recall anytime in your lifetime, but if you are affected by a recall, it's usually not a big deal. It's just you contact a manufacturer, they send you a replacement, you prove that you have a real non-working device, usually by sending them a photo, and there you go. Easy as that. So it's not a huge deal, but if you happen to have a July 2015 model MacBook that isn't charging properly, check it out. Call up your Apple store. There's one in the mall. There's one in Hamilton Place Mall. They can hook you up and fix you up, hopefully anyway, with a new charging cable. They're actually licensed to do that, so they can do that with no problem. It shouldn't cost you anything. They might charge you shipping. I don't think they would. Apple seems to have enough money to not have to worry about that, but you know how it goes. So if you have one of the affected charging cables, call up Apple, see if your charging cable actually is one of the affected charging cables, and they'll help you out. Apple tech support is actually kind of okay most of the time. Sometimes they'll keep you on the line for forever, sometimes not. It just depends on how busy they are over there. That's just how it is. But anyway, it's a pretty massive recall that's coming out now for MacBook. So if you bought one in July of last year, again, you might have some problems. So keep that in mind. But anyway, that's a quick little recall update for you. Speaking of updates, by the way, the trial or hearing, the preliminary hearing in the Udawal rape case involving the 3 adults who are charged with failure to report child sexual abuse is ongoing right now. Superintendent Rick Smith was just at the stand a few minutes ago, maybe about 30 minutes ago, talking about how he didn't know about different things going on. Of course, Superintendent Rick Smith is not going to be the superintendent for much longer. A replacement will be picked soon-ish. So this preliminary hearing is still ongoing. We've been live tweeting some details about it on our Twitter, Hot News Talk Radio on Twitter. Also, Hot News Chat, if you want the more local stuff, Hot News Chat on Twitter. So check that out. And apparently, the preliminary hearing is still ongoing. Again, that's for the 3 adults who are charged with failure to report child sex abuse. The charges failed to drop. The 3 defendants petitioned for the charges to be dropped by the judge, Judge Filia. He rejected that. So the trial is ongoing in juvenile court, again, under Judge Filia. So that's a quick update on that. We'll update the Minute News as soon as I'm done with this and keep you updated, of course. But that's the latest that's come out about that particular case. So we promised to talk about earthquake detectors on the YouTube. If you're on YouTube, you can check us out. It's Hot News Talk Radio on the YouTube app and also on YouTube on your desktop computer. Go to YouTube, search for Hot News Talk Radio. You can see our live stream there. We actually get to look at us here in the studio. It's generally not particularly busy in the visible part of the studio. There's usually people running around in other bits of the studio or doing news stuff outside. But inside the studio itself, where all the microphones are, is usually pretty calm unless something's on fire, which actually has happened before. So you can watch us on YouTube, and if something bursts into flames, you'll get to see it, and you'll get to see me panicking and try to put it out with my jacket. But watch us on YouTube, Hot News Talk Radio on YouTube. You can watch us streaming live there, and you'll notice that the title for today's YouTube stream on this show is Handheld Earthquake Detector and More. Handheld earthquake detector and more. So what's the handheld earthquake detector? Well, I'll tell you. There's a crowdsourced app called MyShake that's actually all about detecting earthquakes in your particular area. It's a bad day for allergies today, by the way, and road conditions are not particularly nice either. But MyShake app is a crowdsourced earthquake detection app that will detect earthquakes in your area or anyone else's area without killing your battery horribly. Because the thing about a lot of active apps is they eat your battery up like nobody's business. Meaning, in case you want an explanation, that means there's an app that's running in the background, say, okay? And when it's running in the background, you don't see it, but it's running and it's eating up your battery because these apps require power for the processor. So these apps are eating up your battery power like no tomorrow. It's ridiculous. And your battery runs down in 5 minutes and you wonder why. A lot of apps that run in the background will do this. Facebook has come under fire for that before, where the Facebook app, which is always running in the background, by the way, if you have the Facebook app, it's always running. It's very annoying. Will run down your battery horribly, or at least it used to. Some devices it still does, by the way. iPhones tend to be okay, but some of the other Android phones have been having some pretty big problems with that. If you've ever noticed your phone getting really hot, for seemingly no reason, that's because there's an app in the background or in the foreground that you're running right now that's eating up a lot of battery power and is making the processor really dang hot. YouTube, interestingly enough, will tend to do that. Netflix is really bad about that, making your phone really hot. You don't need to worry about it. If it starts getting hot to the point where it's actually uncomfortable to hold on to it, you might have a problem. But generally speaking, your phone warming up is just par for the course. It's something that happens. It's not really anything to worry about. So the MyShake app will purportedly, anyway, I don't have it, but it will purportedly not do that to you. Now, what's the purpose of the MyShake app? Well, detecting earthquakes is kind of a big deal. Finding out where earthquakes are is important for just seismological reasons, for scientific reasons, for all sorts of different reasons, study purposes. It's good to know when there is an earthquake happening. Well, according to PC Mag, or PC Magazine as it used to be called. It used to be an actual magazine. Now it's not. It won't run down your battery horribly. It says, well, you probably know real quick if an actual earthquake is happening. The app, MyShake, is designed to improve early warning systems for earthquakes by creating a giant distributed network of sorts. The network would use the information relayed by a ton of different smartphones, like, say, smartphones, or a bunch of different devices, like, say, smartphones, to bolster the handful of actual early warning systems deployed worldwide. Basically, what this will do is, say you're in California where there are earthquakes all the dang time, right? Anyone who's been to the West Coast has probably experienced an earthquake at some point. It happened a lot. There's a San Andreas Fault right there. So let's say that you have your iPhone or whatever in your pocket, and it has what's called an accelerometer inside of it, which is just a little chip. It's a little device that's inside your phone that detects movement that your phone is making. If you remember, way back in 2006, 2005, it was a really big deal when the Nintendo Wii came out, that console, the game device. When that came out, the Wiimote, which is the dumbest name for a controller ever, I know, but the Wiimote was really impressive because it had an accelerometer inside of it, and it could detect which direction your hand was turned. It was really impressive at the time, and it still kind of works today. But it was really impressive, and now everyone's iPhone has that in it. So your phone can actually detect its orientation, meaning it knows where it is in three-dimensional space. Like, you know when you're being hung upside down, or you know when you're sideways, you know when you're standing on your feet. Well, your phone is the same way. It can detect that orientation. That's how, when you turn your phone to go into landscape mode, as in when you turn your phone sideways, that's how it knows to flip the screen that direction, or how it knows to change the camera to be that orientation instead of portrait. That's how it knows that. There's a little accelerometer chip inside of it. That accelerometer chip is actually surprisingly pretty sensitive. So it can detect if there's an earthquake, because earthquakes have pretty distinct vibrations, not like when you're walking. It's distinct when there's an earthquake versus when there's you walking. So these different iPhones and Android phones will be used to detect when there's an earthquake going on. Very useful. Could potentially have a lot of early warning systems built into these Android phones and iPhones. And there's a lot of good use that could be. There's a lot of good that could be done with a early detection device on your iPhone for earthquakes. So it's really cool, really good idea. It says MyShake uses the accelerometers on common smartphones, which is freely available from the Google Play Store for easy installation and automatic update, and uses minimal power, meaning phones only need to be charged daily as commonly practiced, and participation leads to delivery of earthquake hazard information and could include the delivery of earthquake shaking alerts, meaning later on, once they have enough data, they could potentially start sending you early warnings for, say, there's an earthquake in your area. And for us on the East Coast, where we don't really have a whole lot of earthquakes, that doesn't sound very useful. But keep in mind, we have had earthquakes here before. In fact, we've had earthquakes just last year. There was one that shook up, I think, Murray County had a bit of a problem with an earthquake. So we usually don't have them that big over here. West Coast has a lot more problems with earthquakes than we do. But still, this could be very useful, again, for early warning systems, just for helping out the scientific community. It would be good for that. So I've got no problem with it. I think it's a cool idea, and especially because it's crowdsourcing of some sort, I think it's just a really cool idea. The idea of crowdsourcing or crowd sharing, by the way, it should be explained, because you're going to be hearing this phrase a lot. Especially in the news, when anyone's talking about apps on the news, you kind of don't know what they're talking about. They tend to talk in sort of gibberish, and they use way too technical terms that only technical people would get. So when we're talking about crowdsourcing or crowd sharing, the idea behind that is it's a crowd of people, right? Literally, it's a crowd of people, a bunch of different people who pool their resources, which individually are minimal, like say $1 on my part, but there's 100 people, so now we have $100. A lot more significant that way, pool their resources into one common goal. And it's all voluntary. You know, it's not communism. It's all voluntary. You're not being forced to by someone in a gulag. You know, it's all very voluntary. You can opt in or opt out if you want to. And you pool your resources into one common goal. And out of that, you get a neat product, or you get a lot of research done, or you get money being put toward a good cause. That's why you have things like GoFundMe, where, say, there's someone who has cancer or some other horrible medical condition that we're all too familiar with. On GoFundMe, you can send that person money. And if a lot of people send just a little bit of money, that person can have their cancer treatment paid for. This is basically the idea behind insurance too, but it's voluntary instead of you having to have it like car insurance is. You need to have car insurance, whereas crowdsourcing and crowd sharing, it's voluntary and it's legal and it's great. So it's a great service and it does a lot of stuff. Kickstarter, you'll hear a lot about Kickstarter, and it's worth going on Kickstarter just to check out. There are a lot of different apps, there are a lot of different projects that are on Kickstarter, and you'll give a little bit of money, and if the project fails, you get your money back, but you give a little bit of money, and there's different goals, and when they reach those goals, you'll get different things. Lots of comic books have been put up on Kickstarter. Oculus Rift, the very popular virtual reality headset, has been on Kickstarter. And one thing that we're actually involved in, and I actually gave a little bit of money to, is was on Kickstarter, called Bloom Sky. Not blue, but Bloom, Bloom, Bloom Sky. It's a weather app. And it's a very local weather app. That's the cool thing about it. With Bloom Sky, and again, it was Kickstarter funded. On Bloom Sky, there are different weather stations, and they're all local, and you can view them at any time. Now, we're actually here at Hot News Talk Radio going to be getting the equipment for a Bloom Sky weather station. Really cool stuff. That means then that we'll be able to show you the weather from our very own, very high-tech, very advanced weather station right here at Hot News Talk Radio. And if you get the Bloom Sky app, you'll be able to watch that weather cam with live photos. You'll be able to watch that weather cam with, say, a time lapse of that particular day that you want to see. And I have the Bloom Sky app installed on my phone right now. You should definitely go to your app store and download the Bloom Sky app. We'll have it launched actually pretty soon. I think we're shooting for this week to get it up and running. That's optimistic, but we could potentially have it up and running by the end of the week. Very cool. I'm really excited about it. And I'm really happy that we actually were chosen and we were eligible for running the Bloom Sky location here in our area. So it's very, very cool stuff. Really excited about it. We're going to be the only Bloom Sky weather station in Chattanooga. So it's going to be very, very exciting. I can't wait, frankly. And we should be getting the device. We should be getting the equipment sometime this week. So very excited. Go ahead and get the Bloom Sky app and just sit on it for a little while. Wait, hold on. And soon we'll have the Bloom Sky weather station set up. Right now, the closest one I think is in Rock Spring, Georgia, which is close-ish to me where I live, but it's really not that close to Chattanooga, especially when it comes to weather, because as we all know, weather is fickle around here. Like right now, for instance, I could read you a weather forecast that would be accurate for Hickson, but not so much for, say, Mont Eagle, or not accurate for Signal Mountain. Because just looking at my weather radar here, I can tell you, here in Hickson, there's not a whole lot of rain going on in Hickson. There is some, but not a whole lot. But over on Signal Mountain, it's raining like nobody's business, just going by this weather radar. In fact, it's more severe the farther west you go. Around South Pittsburgh especially is getting hit pretty hard right now with a lot of precipitation. Just for a quick weather update, by the way, 50 degrees is the high today. Currently, it is 34 here in Hickson. Pretty chilly. 38 is the low. Going to be seeing a lot of rain, up to an inch of rain, all the way out until about 7 a.m. tomorrow. Tomorrow, 54 is the high, 36 is the low. And as soon as we get that Bloom Sky weather station, we'll be able to give you a lot more accurate weather information, simply because we'll have a weather station with all sorts of cool sensors on it right here at the Hot News Talk Radio studio. I'm, again, very excited about it. I can't wait. So we have just a little bit of time left in the show, which means I get to get a little bit more technical, which means I get to talk about something that is actually attainable for you and me. Meaning Mattel, the famed toy company Mattel, is right now working on a 3D printer for kids. Now, as soon as you hear the word 3D printer, you think expensive, right? We all think 3D printer equals expensive. And mostly you're right. But Mattel, again, has announced that it's bringing back something called ThingMaker. It's toy making kits, which launched all the way back in... which launched all the way back in the 1960s. But this time, ThingMaker will get a modern makeover, and it's going to have a fully functioning $300 3D printer designed specifically for kids. Now, $300 3D printer is pretty significant. The original ThingMaker, of course, let kids produce their own toys, but now kids can 3D print their own toys. Super custom, super cool. Now, toy brand Mattel is also getting in on the action, and in collaboration with Autodesk, is producing the ThingMaker 3D printer and the ThingMaker design app. So this combination will be allowing for users to create their own toys using hundreds of pre-designed parts and print them using a variety of filament material and color options. So $300 for a 3D printer with which you can print a basically unlimited amount of different toys. Kids will love it. This is going to be like the Lego of tomorrow, essentially. Because like Lego was, you could build any structure you wanted. And it was so cool. And I still love Lego. I think Lego is one of the best toys you could ever get a kid. Seriously, it is that good. But think about 3D printing a toy, right? And the parents only shell out $300 plus a little bit extra for filament every now and then. Think about that. Think about the world that would create, where kids can 3D print basically anything they want within its size parameters. How cool is that? That's the future that we're looking at. And it's all being brought about, and it's all thanks to us having this advanced technology in our hands right now. If you have a smartphone, you are holding one of the most advanced devices ever known to man. Currently, maybe you have a lower-end smartphone, but even that lower-end smartphone, if you look at human history, is one of the most advanced devices known to mankind. It's extremely advanced, and it's so easy to use. It baffles my mind every time. It just boggles my mind. Every time I look at a smartphone and I think, we have this technology in our hands today. We can learn anything we want to from this smartphone. We can look up anything we want to. We can get directions to anywhere in the world. We can use this for telemetry. We can use it for gathering information. We can use it for chatting back and forth. The most advanced communications devices today, and pretty much everyone has one in their hands. In fact, a majority of people have smartphones now. How crazy is that? A majority of the people in the world today have smartphones, or at least a cell phone. How crazy is that? In fact, now there are more smartphones in the world than there are people. How weird is that? There are now more smartphones on the planet Earth than there are people. And we're just building more and more every day, and they're getting better and better every day. It's amazing. It's amazing the world we live in. If you don't have a smartphone, you're missing out. If you don't have a smartphone today, you're going to need one, because soon it's going to be a requirement basically for living in the modern world. It'll be a requirement that you have a smartphone, not one that's mandated by governments or anything like that, but it'll be just a requirement for day-to-day life. Like today in business, you have to have a car to conduct business, right? It's just understood. You have to have a car to conduct business. Soon it's going to be, you're going to have a smartphone for conducting business. You're going to have a smartphone for going about your day-to-day life. You're going to have a smartphone to unlock your house or your car or getting directions or what have you. You're going to have one. It used to be, back in the day, it was really exciting to get a GPS. It was so exciting. You got a GPS on your dashboard. Now, you don't even need one of those anymore, because you have a smartphone that does exactly the same thing all in one package, and it plays music and it does everything else. The future is amazing. Colin Cowherd's coming up next here on Hot News Talk Radio.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd, right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.